made an excellent speech just now. He was positive. He talked in strategic terms. I don't know what the Liberal Democrat spokesman achieved by constantly attacking the Conservative Party in what is a very complex issue. Of course, we can be criticised because we sold this company to Jingay. Yes, I agree. But how many voices over there were speaking up at the time?
This was the moment Parliament cracked. One MP, armed with nothing but the truth, rose and tore the entire fragile house of cards apart. He admitted his own failures first, then pulled the rest into the harsh light beside him. In moments, decades of deception seemed to crumble. Senior MPs from every party sat frozen, stunned, with nowhere left to hide. The silence was suffocating. What exactly did he say? And why could this be the speech that ends the old order for good? In this video, let's find out.
Edward Leigh.
I've just come off the phone talking to Tom Smith, the trade union convener at the blast furnaces, on behalf of my many constituents who work in Scunthorpe next door. And my primary concern today is with the nearly 3,000 people who work in this plant.
Edward Leigh doesn't waste a second. He rises and immediately tears the mask away. 3,000 British workers at the Scunthorpe blast furnaces are fighting to survive. This isn't some polite panel debate about the green economy or Keir Starmer's hollow slogans on industrial revival. These are real people, real families, real livelihoods hanging by a thread. Yet the Labour Business and Trade Secretary appeared trapped in an illusion of his own making.
First of all, I am delighted that after an incredible cross-government effort, we have secured the raw materials we need to keep the blast furnaces going. And I want to say a huge thank you to all the staff at British Steel, all the people who have been involved in really pulling out the stops to make sure we've got that continuity of supply. Yes, supporting British Steel is the right thing to do, recalling Parliament to take back control of the situation, to make sure the blast furnaces weren't lost in an unplanned way with all the consequences that would come from that. I believe we can improve on the financial performance that we have seen. But I have said from the beginning that the kind of support we're now putting in place for British Steel is better value for the country, better value for the taxpayer than offering hundreds of millions of pounds for significant job losses in a way we weren't quite confident that transformation programme would deliver what we...
And what is Keir Starmer doing? Giving speeches, repeating promises that should have been delivered years ago. Leigh's intervention feels like a final breath of reality in a parliament crowded with career politicians, too removed to even see the collapse they helped create.
And negotiations to protect it have been running for years. This moment could have happened at any time, but it has happened now, and I will not stand by. There is no time to waste. So we are recalling Parliament tomorrow for a Saturday sitting. We will pass emergency legislation in one day to give the Business Secretary the powers to do everything possible to stop the closure of these blast furnaces. And as I have said, we will keep all options on the table. Our future is in our hands.
Keir Starmer tried to sound concerned, but it didn't ring true. Edward Leigh laid bare the stark reality of where the British steel industry now stands.
We have been making the best quality steel in the world for 135 years in Lincolnshire, and we intend to go on doing it. We are not going to allow cheap, inferior Chinese steel to kill off our industry. The workers of Scunthorpe are breathing a sigh of relief.
Leigh brings the hammer down. 135 years of producing some of the finest steel in the world, and now both Labour and the Conservatives are allowing it to wither under a surge of cheap, state-subsidized Chinese imports. Keir Starmer and his Labour Party once applauded globalization when it boosted party coffers. They embraced Chinese deals when they were fashionable. They dismissed industrial policy as nostalgia for men in flat caps. Now they present themselves as defenders of British steel. This isn't patriotism. It's a cover for the economic betrayal they helped shape. Leigh takes aim at the Liberal Democrats, but the blow lands even harder on Labour. This crisis calls for unity and a clear strategy, not the smug, idle grandstanding that Starmer and his MPs display whenever a camera appears. They seem to remember the working class only when their red wall voters began to drift away. For years, Labour did not stand up for the steel industry. They chased NGO approval and BBC applause instead. And then he revealed the scandal.
Of course, we can be criticised because we sold this company to Jingay. Yes, I agree. But how many voices over there were speaking up at the time? And were they speaking up when Greg Clark, our business secretary, paid the wages of the Scunthorpe steelworkers for many months? Were they speaking up when we saved Sheffield Forge Masters? This is a highly complex issue, and we should be.
In a rare moment of candor, Edward Leigh admits the Conservatives were wrong to sell British steel into Chinese ownership. Then he pivots and tears into Labour's hypocrisy. Where was their outrage? Where was their resistance? Keir Starmer's Labour sat quietly, unwilling to challenge anything that might cost them cocktail invitations in London. Their silence was not ignorance, it was consent. They opened the door to the wolves. Now they seek applause for driving a few strays from a wreckage. Before we go any further, are you enjoying the video? If you are, please like and share it, and subscribe to our channel for more exclusive coverage of the major changes unfolding on Offscript. Now, let's continue.
I know that we can be critical of the government. Perhaps we should have acted sooner. And my honourable friend has been raising this point. I was sitting beside him when he raised it at the end of March, and he called for nationalisation of this industry. But we've now got to work together to save our steel-making capacity. But this is a bit of a sticking plaster, we know that. It's quite dangerous. Quite extensive powers have been taken by government. There has to be a sunset clause. We are given unprecedented powers to government. We can criticise them for not acting sooner. But this is just a sticking plaster on a gaping wound. Let's be honest. Steelmaking in this country is under extreme stress.
Edward Leigh speaks the brutal truth. This bill, this so-called heroic move that Labour is boasting about, is nothing more than a temporary bandage slapped over decades of decay. The steel industry is bleeding out, and Keir Starmer's government is scrambling to appear active only because the crisis is now in full public view. This isn't rescuing British steel. It's a desperate attempt to dress up a corpse.
To secure Britain's future with British steel, made in Britain, in the national interest. Thank you. I'll now take some questions. Serena, please first.
You said the bill provides the government with the power to direct steel companies in England to protect the Scunthorpe site, without saying all options are on the table, which we've heard many times from ministers this week, without a clear indication of the future of British steel. Can you tell us whether this is nationalisation or...
See Keir Starmer claiming he was prepared for this? In truth, he was hoping the next government would inherit the crisis.
And why is that? Why are we loading the most expensive energy costs on our own steel production? Why is Scunthorpe paying almost twice as much in energy costs as in South Korea or in America? High energy prices make UK steel expensive to produce and uncompetitive versus our European counterparts. The average price paid by UK steelmakers for 24-25 was £66 a megawatt hour, compared to the German price of 50 and the French price of 43. We are making our own.
Edward Leigh delivers the final blow. British steelworkers are being crushed under insane energy costs, the direct result of Labour's green tax obsession and net zero extremism. How can Scunthorpe compete when its energy bills are nearly double those in South Korea or the US? It can't. And that's exactly the point. Keir Starmer's Labour doesn't want industry. They want a museum. A Britain where the only jobs are TikTok creators and NGO activists.
Uncompetitive. We have to stop these green energy costs. We have to be realistic. I see that the Secretary of State for Net Zero has now left. But get real. You know, we can take it into public ownership now, but if we go on loading these costs on our industry, we will be coming back month after month, year after.
Edward Leigh roars what everyone outside Westminster already knows. China is winning, Britain is losing, and Labour's ecomania is ensuring it. Steel isn't dying because Britain can't compete. It's dying because Britain is shackling its own industries to a fake morality play, while China, India, and the US rake in the profits. Keir Starmer didn't save British steel. He helped destroy it.
But we have to get real about China too. Was it not obvious for weeks, indeed for months, that this company, this so-called private company, there is no such thing as a private company in China. They're all under the cosh of the government, under an autocratic regime. What do they care about the steelworkers in Scunthorpe? What do they care about our national interest? So never again, colleagues, must we allow a strategic industry like this to fall into the hands of the Chinese, the Russians, or anybody else. I'm going to give way. I'm going to finish in a moment. I've made my point. So,
Edward Leigh draws a clear line in the sand. No more selling Britain's backbone to foreign governments. But where was this fight from Labour when it actually mattered? Gone. Silent. And now they feign shock that Britain's strategic industries are foreign-owned shells. Yet it was Keir Starmer's Labour that helped write that obituary.
Just try and... Oh, I'll give way to the Honourable Lady. Go on.
I am extremely grateful to the Honourable Gentleman for giving way. I would just like to ask him to clarify whether he was aware that the Chinese company that is now in possession of British Steel was actually sold it by a Conservative government of which he was a part.
Well, of course I'm aware, because I've just said it. I've just admitted that it was a mistake, but I've asked everybody here, what were they saying at the time? Of course, silence. Silence! It's easy to be wise after...
A Labour MP tries to score a cheap point, asking if Edward Leigh knew the Tories had sold British Steel. Leigh shuts her down. Yes, he knew. And then he asked sharply, where was Labour's outrage? The answer, nowhere. Silent, complicit. Labour only remembered patriotism once it became a convenient campaign slogan.
But I'm worried about my steel workers. I'm worried about their future. I'm not worried. Of course.
Edward Leigh shatters the final illusions. He fights for workers, not for news clips, Twitter likes, or Guardian editorials. Meanwhile, Keir Starmer only noticed the dignity of work once red wall seats flipped Tory. This isn't leadership, it's electoral desperation.
I just want to make sure he puts the record straight. Some of us on this side warned the government then it was the wrong act.
Well done. Very well. Some of us apparently warned the government. I don't know how many, but we now know what is the true nature of our Chinese friends. So, we support the bill. Let's make our steel industry really competitive again. Let's make Great Britain great again.
Another MP interjects, noting that some had warned about China. Leigh acknowledges this, but makes it clear the overwhelming response was silence. And Labour led that choir. When it comes to globalization, woke politics, and selling out Britain, Keir Starmer's Labour never says no. Edward Leigh didn't just expose a policy failure. He dragged Starmer's hollow patriotism into the harsh light, surgically tearing apart Labour's hypocrisy. He revealed Parliament's ugly truth. When it mattered most, Starmer and Labour were silent. When it was easy, they sided with China. And now, too late, they expect praise for attempting to fix the disaster they helped create. Starmer didn't save British Steel. He simply showed up at the funeral with a fake wreath and a TV camera.
Nationalisation or a precursor to nationalising British Steel? And if it's not that, why not?
Well, what we're doing tomorrow is passing legislation to take control of the plant and to preserve all viable options. And so that's the step that we will take tomorrow. It does mean all options are on the table, and it means all options remain viable. But the step we're taking tomorrow is the step of taking control, because it's necessary now to do that. Thank you, Chris, PA.
Thanks, Prime Minister. How much do you expect this to cost?
Have you ever seen an MP call out fellow MPs in a scandal so directly and without hesitation? Isn't it clear that this MP is one of the few truly listening to the people of their constituency? Share your thoughts in the comment section below on where Keir Starmer stands in all this, and what he could learn from this brave MP who didn't shy away from admitting his own involvement. If you want to watch more videos like this, please like, share, and subscribe for more updates on Offscript and the events shaping British politics.